Hello, I'm Pioneer staff reporter Jonathan Epley. The Pioneer's continuing its city election coverage here. We're talking today with former mayor and city commissioner candidate Ed Burch. Also joining me is Pioneer editor-in-chief Dave Clark. Ed, thanks for joining us today.
I'm very happy to be here today, John.
Tell me a little bit about yourself. Like I said, you're former mayor. Tell me a little about your governmental experience and what you did for a living for some years.
I was educated in Big Rapids, going to school here, and when I graduated in, believe it or not, 1954, I had an opportunity to take an engineering scholarship from Michigan State, and I've always felt that the community helped pay for my education. My grandparents helped, other people in the city, even the state of Michigan. When I went to Michigan State, it was primarily from it's a state-supported institution. So I've always felt a loyalty to the community. So when I had an opportunity to come back in 1967, after I was educated and after I'd served my military time, I came back to Big Rapids and served for approximately 30 years as engineer manager of the road commission. Following that, then the people asked me to run for mayor, which I did. And because I thought, I wasn't sure that they would even elect me after being in public service for 30 years. I thought probably I'd made enough enemies to keep me out. But to my surprise, they elected me. And I fulfilled that obligation. And once I got through that obligation, I went into retirement again, and now I've been asked, as I told you, there's some people asked me to rerun, so here I am again to try to serve my community. Because in my whole life is probably pretty much spent in this community. I have a deep appreciation and a love for it, and if there's anything that I can do, I want to do it to help our community. So that's me. That's Ed Burch.
What is the biggest asset that you feel you will bring to the city commission if elected?
Well, I'm an engineer, and so I know we have a lot of projects either pending or not pending, and I believe that I can help resolving some of those issues and trying to keep the costs under control and be a benefit to the taxpayers and to the other city commission members and to the mayor and to the city manager.
What made you decide to run for commission and not seek re-election as mayor?
Well, I supported Mark Werba, and under the circumstances, it would not be, he has done nothing to tell me that he has not fulfilled his obligation as mayor to the community. And I certainly have no aspirations to take his place or anything. My whole purpose of this is to try to assist him and the other commissioners in doing what's right for the city. So I plan on working with him.
Besides your experience as an engineer and also as a previous city commissioner and mayor, what's a quality that you have that you'd like to see on the city commission? Is there something, a skill that you possess besides that?
Oh, I'm pretty even keeled. I believe that when I ran for mayor, there was quite a bit of unrest in the city, and I don't like to see that in a city. I'd rather have the city work in a calm, reasonable manner, work with everyone in the community, and move ahead on what has to be moved ahead with, and not move ahead on those items that maybe should be held for a few years. And so I believe in a city government that is kind of manages, but I don't believe that the city government ought to take over all aspects of our lives. But they should service us in areas where we need.
As a city commissioner and certainly as a mayor, you hear good things and bad things about city services and how they're provided. Give me an example of a time that you received a city service that was less than satisfactory, and then I want you to tell me about a city service that you think we're presenting to taxpayers in a very good way.
years ago, there was certainly a problem with garbage and refuse pickup, which was resolved by the commission at that time, and that has proved to certainly provide us an ample way of taking care of our personal material that has to go to landfills and recycle and so forth. So I think that's one area where the city certainly has excelled. I don't know of any service that we had another service that the city of Big Rapids is one of the few, and that's snow plowing sidewalks. In most of the cities, what they want to do is fine you if you don't keep your sidewalk clear. But in the city of Big Rapids, because of its diversification of everything, I think it's a service that's well pleased. To me, as an individual, I enjoy it. My sidewalks are plowed, my streets are plowed, and I can get back and forth, and I think it's the public service department does a good job.
Now, Ed, the city recently contracted with a third party to collect funds from at-fault drivers for services provided by city and fire and police. Is the city out of line in seeking these funds?
Well, I don't know yet. We'll have to wait and see how it comes about. But I can comment this way, is that when the income tax was put into place, the income tax was to put in to help resolve the issues of which wasn't being handled by property taxes and it was promoted. It was promoted on 3 items. It was promoted on police and fire and streets, and it hasn't quite taken care of all 3 because I still think that there's a number of streets in the city of Big Rapids that need work on. But it has pretty well taken care of fire and police. So I don't know, but I would say this, that if I was in another community, if I went to East Lansing, for example, and I had a vendor bender, and I got a bill, I wouldn't be very happy, and I would remember that community for quite a while. So I think time will have to tell. I hope that the city commission is kept briefed on it, not only on how much money they collected and how much they brought, but just exactly how it has affected, because I think that it's going to have to be monitored very closely, because it's an item which I have a difficulty understanding, and I don't know the ramifications of it at this point, but I also scratch my head on what the commission did at the time that they decided to put it into place. So I don't know, but I would say this, that if I was in another community, if I went to East Lansing, for example, and I had a vendor bender, and I got a bill, I wouldn't be very happy, and I would remember that community for quite a while. So I think time will have to tell. I hope that the city commission is kept briefed on it, not only on how much money they collected and how much they brought, but just exactly how it has affected, because I think that it's going to have to be monitored very closely, because it's an item which I have a difficulty understanding, and I don't know the ramifications of it at this point, but I also scratch my head on what the commission did at the time that they decided to put it into place. So let's play it cool, take a look at it, and I certainly don't want to adversely affect any, well, for example, fair students or their parents coming into town and having to get them, not only do they have to pay the exorbitant, well, I shouldn't say exorbitant costs, but current costs for education, and have them receive an unhappy experience in the community. Because I want them to spend their money here. I want them to spend it on food and services and drinks and whatever is necessary to make their life enjoyable so that their sons and daughters have a good experience going to the university.
Let's talk about that relationship for a moment.
Okay.
as you said, you're a lifelong resident of Big Rapids. How have you seen the relationship between Ferris and the community change over the years, and how would you characterize it today? As good as it's ever been, just moderately successful, or poor?
Looking over the years, it has grown. It's certainly grown. I remember I was playing basketball in 1950 when Old Main burnt. We were up at, which is now the charter school, was our high school. And that night, I remember that night. I remember that night that the city didn't have enough water pressure. And so, as a consequence, after that episode, we certainly have seen an increase. We've seen an increase in and a change. We've got water towers now around the city that have tremendous capacities, and we certainly have limited our exposure to fire. So that's a benefit. The benefit to the students, I think. Well, I was one of the things that Dan Burcham told me, that I was one of the first mayors to ever go to their so-called, I don't know what it was called at that time, town and gown meeting.
The council meeting.
Yeah, the council meeting. And one of the things I couldn't understand at that time, when they said that on their applications, they didn't ask if you had a felon or not. And I said, you mean to tell me that if I sent my daughter or son up here to go to school, that they might have a felon living right in their same dorm? And they said, yes. And I said, that's not right. I says, we shouldn't deny those people the right to an education, but we certainly should have the right to know if they have. And so they looked into that, and they came up with the present policy of they don't deny you admission because of your felon, but if you have a felon, you have to tell them, and they take a look at it and see just exactly where you want to go with your life. And so there's been some control put on it. So that was another, it's a plus.
But overall, the relationship, do you think it's as good as it's ever been?
Well, I think I've seen more activity lately. I mean, I use the students when they do the cleanup for
a big event.
Big event, and they're great. And I've tried to give them. They won't accept any money, so I try to give them a meal ticket or something. They won't accept that either. And so I have nothing but admiration for the students who go there. I think they're great people. I think they're doing things, and I have one daughter-in-law that's a pharmacy graduate of Ferris, and I have a son that's a graduate there. You think I'm going to say that there's anything bad about that? No, they're great. That's great.
You sound like a former mayor. That's a good answer. Ed, what can the City Commission do to make Big Rapids more inviting for two of the constituencies that the previous commissions have said are very valuable to them? Small business owners and younger families seeking a place to relocate. Is there anything that a governmental body can do to make the move to Big Rapids more convenient or easier, or is that not your role?
I don't have an answer on it, because I've always lived in the city of Big Rapids. I have ownership here, and it's my home. I don't have really any big business, but I have an ownership here. We've been here a long time, and so I look at it as a perspective, of someone that's lived here, and this is their community. And I know that there are people that don't want to pay the income tax, the full income tax, and they live outside the community. And so I really think that right now the city of Big Rapids is really limited in area. And the houses are here, and I can't understand some of the new, as I understand, and I'm certainly not quite qualified on that, but under the some of the new federal laws on it, any house built before, I could stand to be corrected on this, but I think any home that's built before 1969, before it can be sold, has to be brought up to code. That's a requirement. That there are a lot of houses in Big Rapids that were built in 1900.
We have a lot of historic homes here, sure.
Yeah, and so I don't quite know how to handle that. I think the home ownership some way And the other thing that I was very disappointed in was that people that draw their money from the community and work for the community no longer have to live in the community. And I've been through that, I think, probably a number of times, and I'm sure it's quite well known that Ed Burch doesn't agree with that. I believe that if you serve the community, you should live in the community. You should live in the community. I think that a small, and we're not really a small community, but a medium-sized community, I believe that you have to face your problems. And if you go to coffee in the morning and somebody's jumping you about something and there's more than one person, there's something wrong, and you try to get it straightened out. And I think that you have to have that inner workings between the community and yourself as an employee to face those issues. And so that's another area that I think that, do those affect it? Yeah, I think those affect it. And I saw it, but I've worked with the townships, and I've always had a pretty good working relationship with both Big Rapids and Green Township. And so I think that I certainly would like to promote working together with the townships and resolving those issues that we can. Some of them we probably never will resolve. Some of them that aren't going to go away until the next generation comes about, but do what we can.
Let's talk about another constituency that you'll deal with a lot on the City Commission, which is landlords. What's your experience in dealing with the Landlord Association, and what's a way that you think you could strengthen the dialogue that's going on between the city and the local landlords?
Well, that's a hard one for me, because I know the landlords have investments here and so forth, and I know they're upset with inspections and so forth, but boy, I just don't. I really don't have a. That's not my highest capabilities of trying to resolve that. I think it has to be worked up. I still think it has to be continually worked on, and it has to be continually thought through, and we have to continually decide in a community what we want to do. And I think my whole concern about the whole thing is to make sure that the students that select to live in apartments and so forth, and the people who live in apartments, that we should make sure that they are safe and under the best circumstances. And so I don't know. But I'm not an expert on it. Not in anything. But I do know that I don't want to be, as I said when I was in mayor in that position, I don't want to serve on a commission at the time that we have a fire and lose multiple students in a fire because of negligence on somebody's part. I couldn't stand it. I think if anything drove me to an insane asylum, that would be it, because I couldn't handle it.
If you're elected to City Commission and you could prioritize 2 areas for the city manager and city staff to focus on, what would those 2 areas be? Well,
the areas, of course, the areas I'm most interested in is the road system. Michigan is your hand. Big Rapids is on your ring finger. When you travel for recreation, you go north, and when you shop, you go south. And we are entirely dependent on roads for our groceries and for all. And so it's most important for us to have a good network of roads. And I believe that if we have a good network of roads, that and you have your town is clean and kept up, that people will come. And so I believe in the hospital, I believe in the library, and I believe in the pool, I believe in the roads, I believe in the parks, and I believe in our White Pine Trail system. Those are all things that increase the betterment of the quality of life for us as individuals. I would like to see some sort of a connection made between the east side of the city and the west side. But in getting back, and that's one thing brings to mind, I don't know how to increase the people in the city of Big Rapids, because one of the things that's bothered me greatly is the closing of the 2 schools. And I know that that will hurt both. It hurts the east side of the river and it hurts the west side of the river. And now the elementary schools we have are on the south end of town. And I know that we just can't keep closing schools, and so it's intermingled between the kids and the parents and the community. And I don't know how to resolve it. No, I'm not an educator, and I don't know, come from that background, but I do know that we've got to work out something to promote home ownership in the community, to try to stabilize and increase the youngsters in the community. Can't be a bunch of old people all the time.
Thanks for joining us today. We hope this series of interviews helps voters make educated choices when they head to the polls for the city election on November 8th. For more coverage on the city election, please make sure to visit www.bigrapidsnews.com.